Good morning and welcome to the June 20th meeting of the Policy Committee. I call the meeting to order. I need an approval of the agenda.
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve the second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 4-0. Next up is I need the approval of the May 16th open session minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. 4-0. Next up is policies for second review. Mrs. Morris.
Good morning, everyone. The first policy that we have for second review is policy 3-31, criminal arrests and convictions. This policy was reviewed by this committee in May, and it went to the board for first review in June. There's been no stakeholder input since that time, and staff would request that this go for approval at the July meeting.
Any comments? If not, a motion to send it to the full board for the July 13th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 4-0.
The next, I'm going to take these together like I did in the last policy committee meeting. Policy 7-05, participation by historically underutilized businesses, and policy 7-06, participation by women and minority-owned businesses. The recommendation was that these be combined into one policy, 7-05, and that 7-06 be deleted. The revisions proposed were reviewed in May with this committee and then by the board in June. There's been no stakeholder input since that time, and staff would request that these changes go for approval at the July meeting.
Motion to send to the full board for approval at the July meeting.
7-05 and 7-6, both?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Need a second? Did I get one? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Thank you. Next.
The last policy for second review is a proposed new policy, automated phone and text messaging. This policy was also reviewed by the committee in May and then by the board in June. There's been no stakeholder input since that time, and staff would request that this go for approval at the July meeting.
Motion to send to the board, full board for approval at the July meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you very much. Next up is policies for first review. Mrs. Morris.
Okay, the first policy for first review is policy 3-19, administration of meds or medication and or first aid. And the revision to this policy is based on some statutory changes. It's been reviewed by the district nursing director as well as the lead nurses, and staff would request that this go for review at the July meeting. And if there's any questions, I can try and answer those for you.
I have no questions.
I don't either.
Yes.
Motion to send to the full board for first review.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 4-0. Thank you. Next up, policy 5-4.
Yes, extracurricular activities and interscholastic athletics. The proposed revisions to this policy are to address the changes made related to the changes to middle school sports and bringing those into the district. The revisions have been reviewed by the district athletic director, Mr. Garner. And so staff would request that this go for review at the July meeting as well.
Good.
Any issues from anybody on this?
Nope.
Ours?
No, it's the Nelson Garner was satisfied with the revision, and I sent it to him to make sure that it was consistent with what we were doing, and he agreed.
All right. Thank you. Nothing else, Madam Chair.
Okay. Need a motion to send this to the board.
So
So
moved.
Oh, second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, that's 4-0. Next up is policy 8-2.
Yes, this is insurance for student transportation, and the revision to this is based on some statutory changes. It's been reviewed by the Director of Transportation as well as the risk manager. And staff would request that this go to review at the July meeting. And just so you know, because the formatting on this draft policy is a lot brighter than in the other policies, when I went to do these on board docs, it wouldn't, when I made the revisions, it wouldn't come up in the green and the red. So I had to use the highlighting feature in Word to clarify what those were, just so you're not confused with the way it looks.
That explains it.
And as I said, both Mr. Denton and Ms. Emil are comfortable with the changes that have been proposed. And we would ask this go for review in July meeting.
Okay,
Motion to send to the full board for the first reading.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4-0, thank you. Next up is a proposed new policy.
Yes, this proposed new policy is technology in the educational program. And this policy is being proposed to reflect the requirements of the North Carolina Digital Learning Plan. It's been reviewed by both Dr. Rogers, the Assistant Sup for Academics, and by Mr. Parker, our CTO. And staff would request that this go for review at the July meeting.
I do have a question or two on this one.
Okay. Try.
I'm wondering in section B and C, if we should set some kind of timeline or deadline when the technology deployment and refresh plan and the program of professional development, when those should be updated, say like prior to each school year or by July or by the start of the new school year, set a timeline and or deadline for those plans to be updated or developed.
We can add that for both of those, that annually the superintendent shall oversee the development, and then annually shall plan a program of professional development. Would that?
Okay. Yeah, that's an even better thought, rather than put a deadline to it, just say annual, so they have the flexibility. At what time of the year is the best to address it? I like that.
Okay.
I think the technology plan, Mr. Parker does a pretty thorough job of keeping a roadmap with that for SPTT, so we shouldn't be too much of an issue. So I will add annually. What I'll change B to is annually the superintendent shall oversee the development, ... And then for C, the superintendent shall annually plan a program of professional development.
Excellent.
Okay.
Shall plan or update a
Annually
plan?
plan or update. Perfect.
Okay. Excellent. I'll make a motion to send to the full board for
hold on.
first reading.
Question.
Whoop, sorry.
Go ahead, Reverend Pastor. I can go next.
No, sir. I don't have any questions. We didn't. I
Oh,
would
okay.
just
Oh,
let you opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ms. Morris, this North Carolina Digital Learning Plan, there's nothing no one's had no idea. Anytime I see the word globally and technology, I just want to make sure that signing up for is something that's going to be beneficial to the district, and nothing that's going to connect us with anything other than good educational learning. Is there any discussions around the state or with anyone about this particular thing? You or Dr. Houlihan can address that. I just want to make sure we're not linking arms with, all kind of things.
I've not heard anything negative. I don't know if Dr. Houlihan has.
No, I have not either. This is all locally, all of our local plans that developed by our own staff.
10-4. I just saw North Carolina digital. All right, so we're not tapped into North Carolina, anything from the state. Everything we do is locally driven.
The only state connection is the technology standards that we're required to follow. That's it.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add a comment. I know at least in the past anyway, parents have expressed the concern to me that how we're moving to, or have been moving to a digital platform for some years now, and instead of a written textbook type format. And I just want to, basically we've been pushed in that direction for years now. Funding for actual textbooks has been all but eliminated. The thought process is that textbooks, even if you buy the latest textbook, by the time you get it in your hands, it's outdated. Whereas with technology, you can update it in a blink of an eye. You may have concerns for your child that screen time or using Chromebooks extensively for learning. I understand those concerns, but that is the way that education, at least in this state, has been moving and will continue to move. And we are doing our best to stay out of the front of it.
Keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're generating this because we live in a world that's moving in all kinds of directions, and we want to make sure that we stay in the most positive, focused direction that we can. So thank you, Madam Chair, for this time.
Okay, so do we have a motion and a second?
Motion to send, I'm sorry. Motion to
No.
send the full board for
Second.
first reading.
Jimmy has second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Our next meeting is August 15th at 8 a.m. and it via Zoom. Thanks. Have a good day.
Motion to
everybody.
adjourn.
Have a
So
good one.
moved.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Motion to adjourn.
Thank
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
good
day.
day.
Good day,
Have a
everyone.
good day.
Stay dry.
you.